So, initial thoughts on the new SAA Audit and Assurance Professional Strategic Professional Level exam. So, just some initial thoughts, seeing the specimen exam, seeing the examiner's guidance, and seeing the new syllabus. There's a lot of similar stuff. There's a lot of similar stuff to what we saw when we call it AAA. So the syllabus looks broadly the same. There's an expectation you've done the financial reporting exams before it. So the new business and sustainability reporting exam will be effectively required and highly recommended before you sit this new exam. There'll be a 50-mark question on planning, and then there'll be two 25-mark questions. One of them will be definitely on completion and reporting. There's a heavy focus on quality management, which is a great question as a tutor, a difficult question as a student, but I love those questions. And there'll still be variants of the exam, a UK variant and an international variant for this specific exam, okay, and some other variants as well. But a few things that are quite interesting to see. Now, these are all initial thoughts, but there'll be less marks for the risks than we've seen in the past. So when you look at the marking guidance, we might typically have got 3 marks for some of the risks, audit risks in the past, and our ROMs. But now we're looking at potentially 2 marks for each one. So the nature and maybe the depth of answer that we've given in the past may have to be reduced slightly. Again, we might be seeing a bit more clarity also in the future, but there's also no mention of judging materiality in the professional skills marks. So if you're someone who's resitting or looking at it, at the moment, there's in question 1, there's credit for a judgment of the level of materiality. So whether you do 5%, 7%, 7.5%, or 10% of profit or tax, for example, if you're asked about profit or tax, then there's no mention specifically of that judgment. But again, maybe that will be clarified in the future. The syllabus itself, there's a few changes or at least clarifications. These might just be areas they want to highlight a bit more, or things that weren't as clear in the past in the syllabus that can be tested. So in particular, planning audits in different jurisdictions has been mentioned. So transnational audits we talked about before in the syllabus, but thinking about the context in which the audits are sit. So there might be a few issues about, doing audits where you're going to maybe struggle to get the evidence, or you need to use a different entity, so that kind of component auditor. Those kind of issues might creep in a little bit more. There is absolutely going to be a bit more on sustainability. We know that. We know it's a key theme. Business and sustainability reporting is the name of the new exam. So there's going to be a bit more on that. So maybe there might be a few more questions, 25 markers on sustainability issues. Okay. There's also mention of a re-evaluation of materiality. So where there's an issue that might affect your initial decision on materiality, and being able to justify why that might change or if it should change. Related party transactions is called out, but that's okay. We can cover that one. Justifying situations where a joint audit would be appropriate. Again, maybe something slightly different, kind of coming back to those new issues we're starting to see in the audit landscape. The adequacy of disclosures of subsequent events. Now that one sounds tricky, and I'm hoping it's not as tricky, because we don't normally have to evaluate actual disclosures, because that's pretty complex stuff to do. And the new list of financial reporting areas to test, which we've seen before, okay, but they'll be updated with the new business and sustainability reporting exam. The other thing that's interesting, and I think given the nature of the wording, there's no mention of current issues. So where you used to have things like the FRC changing to the ARGA, where you had the Kingsman report, Bryden report, all those kind of things. We might still see them in like technical articles that we have now, but they've dropped that part, possibly partly because it's no longer current. A lot of those reports are pretty old, 5+ years old. And then there's a few more mentions of some more like practical things. Okay, so like evaluating sampling methodology, or where it's not been used or followed, those kind of things. So it's just, we're starting to see that exam get into that like nitty gritty audit stuff, which anyone that teaches audit loves that stuff, because that's maybe what they used to do and then practice as well. And they kind of, it really gets to understand what audit's like. But that does mean, some people who aren't auditors are going to maybe struggle a little bit more with if those kind of questions come up. So I hope it helps. These are only initial thoughts. So lots that will be clarified over the next 18 months.